Hello. Welcome to Conversations with the Empress. I am the Empress. And as you can tell by my dominant attire, it's Freaky Friday, y'all. The day we've all been waiting for. At least I have. And y'all know I love a Freaky Friday. First things first, please go hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons below. They all help my channel to grow. I need the support. I appreciate the support. You know, the more you guys like it, the more you guys share it, affects the algorithm, gets the show spread on a wider audience. And that's what I definitely want and need. So please, again, go hit that like, share, and subscribe for me right about now. I'm pausing for the calls. Thank you. So, the fit for tonight falls in line with what I'm going to be speaking about. But before I get to that, I'll give y'all a little background on this outfit. So, this here is my favorite dominatrix outfit. I like it because it's super comfortable. It's still super feminine, but definitely says that I mean business because I do mean business, okay? Very easy to move around in and maneuver my different implements and toys and whatnot. And I think I got this from yandy.com a long time ago. This is like one of my first dominatrix outfits, but I love it. I love the little chaps, you know, squeezing on my thighs and stuff. It's just sexy, dominant, and I love it. It falls in line with the subject tonight. I realized I never did a show on the major roles in BDSM. And I say major roles because there's so many sub roles to it. If you don't like the word roles, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of a better word. But role meaning what people identify as in the BDSM lifestyle. So the top 3 roles that I'm going to talk to you about today are the dominant, the submissive, and the switch. With all 3 of those roles, there's several roles that fall under it that you can identify that gets more specific into who you are. And I personally find it like you figure out who you are in the lifestyle the longer you're in it and the more experiences that you've had. Because even for me, example, when I came into the lifestyle, I started off as a submissive, but I'm totally a dominant now. Dominant in my everyday life too, but definitely a dominant in the lifestyle. Now let's talk about the dominant. Also known as a top. It's pretty self-explanatory. The dominant is the one in control. The dominant is the one on top. The dominant calls the shots, takes the lead, gives the commands, and hopefully has a submissive that consensually gives that to them. The submissive, also known as the bottom, is the one who takes the commands and follows the lead and gives their submission to the dominant. A switch is someone who can, vacillate between both of those roles, meaning that they could be dominant or they could be submissive. It just depends on the situation, the person, and the dynamic. Being a dom, what people think a dom is like, somebody just wants somebody to just do what they want and give them what they want. And, being a dominant is so much deeper than that. It's not just about telling people what to do and getting what you want. And honestly, if that's what you think, you have the lifestyle screwed up, because a dominant If you are a submissive to a dominant or a slave to a dominant, that dominant should treat you as if you are their prized possession. Outside of play that you guys have discussed and agreed to, you should feel cared for and valued by your dominant. A true dominant is going to want you to be the best version of yourself, and they're going to do things in order to bring that about in you to make you realize who you are and how valuable you are. In my experience, you can't teach somebody how to be a dominant. You either are or you are not. And when I say that, I'm not talking about skill sets like impact play, fire play, wax play, bondage. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your natural persona has to be dominant. I have met people that had this argument with me saying, oh, you could train somebody to be a dominant, same way you can train to be a submissive. You can train somebody to be a dominant in action as far as the play and stuff, but you cannot train somebody to be a dominant. You either are or you are not. I always tell this story about it, like, being that I'm not easily submissive, when I encounter a true dominant, it's almost like this, I say a pinging, I don't know how else to say it, but like, it's almost like an alert or something inside of me that lets me know that that's really a dominant. One of the best stories about that is that I was at a swing party one night, and y'all know swing parties is not really like BDSM, it's just swing. I happened to sit down finally after being up on my feet all night, and there was somebody's bag in front of the chair where I was going to sit. And so I kind of like moved the bag under the chair so I could sit down. And this guy comes out and he looks at me and he's like, oh, so you just going to move my bag like that? He didn't say anything in particular to make me know that he was a dominant, but it was something about him that made me feel just naked in that moment. I wasn't naked. I could have been, but I wasn't. But when I say naked, I don't even mean my clothes. Just like I felt naked in myself. Like he could see right through me. It was a certain energy that he carried that let me know that he was a dominant. He didn't have to tell me. And he wasn't advertising the fact that he was a dominant. But as soon as he spoke to me, I said, oh, you're a dominant? And he was like, yeah, how'd you know that? And I said, it's just something that I feel. It's a natural thing. Those people who are like that make the best dominants. I feel like that's what makes me a great dominant, is that I'm naturally dominant in my life. I'm a life top is what you would call me. So I definitely prefer a natural dominant as opposed to somebody who's trained to be a dominant. The main responsibility of the dominant is to be and continue to be a person that is worthy of someone's submission. And that goes into, how you treat the person, how you carry yourself in your life. What kind of person are you? Are you a person with integrity? Are you a good person? Like, all these things encompass a dominant. It's not just what skills do you have. The more worthy you are in real life, the more your submissive is going to want to give their submission to you. The further they're going to want to go with you. Because you being able to be dominant in your life, take the lead in your life, have your life together, allows them to trust. Now, let me relate this to a vanilla relationship. When I'm speaking about heterosexual relationships. As a woman, I prefer to be submissive with my man in a relationship. However, if my man is not carrying himself in a way that's worthy of my submission, I will then take the lead and become the dominant in the relationship. And, that's not something that I want, but it's something that naturally happens because I'm naturally a dominant person. So with that being said, if you want someone to be submissive to you, whether it's in the lifestyle or outside of the lifestyle, you have to be a person that's worthy of submission. Because submission is a gift. It's not an entitlement. It's a gift. And a true dominant will see that, respect it, and cherish it and appreciate it as such. Because it could be taken away from you at any point in time. Now, let's get into the submissive, okay? Also known as the bottom. You'll hear that phrase, oh, topping from the bottom. That's basically when a submissive might be a little bratty and trying to control what the dominant is doing, or control the direction of where scene is going, or whatever like that. So the submissive is the one who gives up their control, who gives up their power, who follows lead, takes command, and gives service. All submissives are not the same, in a sense that there are lots of different types of submissives. I think that there are more submissive types than there are dominant types. And like all the different types, there's levels to submission. You have some people that only want to submit in certain ways. Then you have 24/7 people that submit in all ways, from what they wear, what they eat, where they go, bedtime. There's so many things that people could give up. Think about all the things that you have control over in your life. And then think about giving those up. Deciding what you wear, deciding what you eat, deciding where you go, what time you go to bed. And as much as that might sound crazy to y'all, which I'm sure it does sound crazy to y'all, what you need to realize is that somebody that's in the lifestyle as a submissive that truly wants to submit is their most free when they are in submission. Because being able to submit is a strength, okay? It's letting go of all your control, letting go of your ego, and trusting someone else's lead. It takes a lot of strength to do that. And to furthermore back up that point, if you're in the lifestyle and if you've been in a lifestyle for any amount of time, one thing that you should know is that the submissive is actually the one with all the power. And I say that because a dominant cannot dominate if a submissive is not giving submission. I say this, and this messes people up when I say it. I feel that the submissive is actually the dominant, and the dominant is actually the submissive, because the submissive holds the control to continue the dynamic and give their submission, or end the dynamic and walk away. The dominant is working so hard to maintain position to keep the submissive's submission. So in all actuality, who is dominant and who is submissive, really? Because a dominant is only dominant to the extent of a submissive's willingness to submit. And if the submissive could walk away at any point and take away their option to dominate, then truly they are the dominant. I'll be getting in my head, and I get down to the nitty gritty of things, okay? So basically what I think is, a submissive is really a dominant, and a dominant is a submissive on steroids, because a dominant is just a submissive with no boundaries, with no protocols, with no rules. They can have whatever they want when they want it. Let me know what y'all think, though. I done wrapped that around in my head and worked that through a couple of times, and I feel like it's true. But yeah, that's the dominant, that's the submissive. Now let's start talking about the switch, okay? A switch is somebody that could be a bottom or a top. They can move fluidly between being dominant or being submissive. Now, for a long time, I could never do either or. I was always both dominant and submissive, but I could never intermingle the two. So let's say I'm in a romantic relationship. I'm submissive, okay? But then if I have a slave, I'm dominant. I never switch out of my dominant role with my slave. I never switch out of my submissive role with my romantic partner. And that's how it was for a long time. But I encountered someone who wanted to play with my dominance and my submission at the same time, like intermingle those things, which in all intents and purposes is a true switch, which means you could switch while you're in scene, you could switch while you're with your person. So at 1 minute you're dominant and then the next minute you're submissive, and vice versa, and it goes back and forth. Y'all take turns. I had never done that because it was very hard for me to switch out of my submissive mind and go into my dominant minds. But now I've experienced that and I actually really enjoy it. It keeps it very interesting and it's very fluid. But for a long time, I said I wasn't a switch because I didn't switch with whoever I was with. But now I am kind of a switch. I still don't like to call myself that because I don't like to be put in a box. If I really wanted to say what I was, I would call myself an alpha submissive. which basically means, yes, I'm submissive, but you got to work hard to get this submission. Like, I got to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are worthy of it. And at any point, if you show me any inkling that you're not, I will be dominant. That's an alpha submissive. Alpha submissive is also somebody that if they're in a dynamic with other sister submissives, they have to be the lead submissive, the top submissive. Which, hello, you know me, I ain't playing number two for nobody. Even in my submission, not playing number two for nobody. Okay. But anyway, back to a switch. I digress. Just telling y'all a little bit about me. But a lot of people like the whole switch idea. I think that it allows for exploration, especially in a heterosexual situation. Society has men programmed to be the dominant one, to be the alpha one, to, take the lead, to be aggressive or whatever. But honestly, there are a lot of men out here who want to explore being submissive. And I feel like when you meet a woman who is switch, it makes it easier for you to explore those things because she's not going to judge you behind that, and you'll be able to have the best of both worlds because she's capable of doing both things. So, how this works in vanilla relationships. Vanilla relationships are just like BDSM relationships, except the terms are not the same. If you look at any relationship, there is always a dominant person and there's always a submissive person. Okay? It's kind of like an unspoken thing. You will never talk about your role as being dominant or submissive in a vanilla relationship. However, in a BDSM dynamic, it's going to be a topic of discussion because that's part of the lifestyle. But I still see so many similarities in vanilla relationships and BDSM relationships. It's just that vanilla people don't see it because they don't know about the lifestyle. But look at your relationship. Who wears the pants in a relationship? You know that phrase, who wears the pants? That's the dom in a relationship. Okay? And that whole switchy thing probably happens more often than not. Maybe not in a sexual way in vanilla relationships, but definitely in responsibilities. You may have a man and a woman that's married, and the woman manages the money, but the man takes care of all the cars or whatever. That's kind of switchy. You guys are switchy. You guys both take the lead on certain things. Y'all both give up the lead on certain things. So that's a switchy relationship. Then you have relationships where the man makes all the money, he runs the show, the woman stays home, she cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the kids, yada, yada, yada. That's a dom and sub relationship. That's a DS relationship. Y'all just not doing the BDSM play, but it's the same type of dynamic. Now, with the dom, sub, and switch thing, there's lots of different types of doms. There's lots of different types of subs. Switch is kind of switch, I don't really know. Same thing. It's less titles with that because switch is such a broad thing. You could be anything and be a switch. You could be a dom and be a switch. You could be a sub and be a switch. You could be anything and be a switch. So that's kind of like separate to itself. But like with the dominant thing, you have daddy doms, you have gentleman doms, you have disciplinary doms. You have like all different types of doms. And there's even more with submissives. You have a regular sub, you have a slave, you have brats, you have baby girls, you have princess, you have rope bunnies, there's so many different types of subs subcategories. So while somebody could be submissive, their level of submission could vary depending on what kind of submissive they are. For instance, let's talk about brats. I always have these conversations with my homegirl because she's a brat. And I'm a brat too, but I brat in different ways. A brat could be somebody who whines and has temper tantrums. A brat could be somebody who has a really slick mouth. A brat could be somebody who disobeys on purpose so they could get punished. There's lots of different types of brats, and there's lots of different levels of submission. Like a brat is a submissive, but they don't make it easy for you to attain their submission. You have to brat tame them. So brats get brat tamers. A brat tamer is another type of dominant. So I'm touching on these little things to show y'all all the nuances of these roles that people identify with. As much as I don't like being put in a box, the thing that I love about the lifestyle is the fact that there is there's something for everyone. the lifestyle is built on acceptance and being 100% free to be who you are and being accepted for that. And I did this show because the lifestyle is such a huge part of my life, and it really defines a lot of who I am, because it's able to encompass the conglomeration of who I am, because I'm not just a woman. I'm not just a submissive. I'm not just a dominant. I'm not just a switch. I'm so many things. And in the lifestyle, I'm free to be all of those things and explore whatever I am to become. I would not be who I was if I hadn't had this journey in BDSM. And that's just the bottom line. I know a lot of people think it's taboo. A lot of people don't know about it other than what they know from 50 Shades of Grey or whatever. It is becoming more on the forefront. But I did this show just to educate y'all on what the roles really are, because there's a lot of false stuff out here. You know, when I got into lifestyle, it was still very traditional, like old guard, like the original BDSM. But now you have a lot of people that are just kinky people, and they say they're in BDSM, and it's not really the same thing. You know, I came in and got serious BDSM training, protocols, contracts, the real deal stuff. And like, I still want to keep that alive and educate people about it, because the lifestyle has become so watered down. So this was just a show, you know, to talk a little bit about the roles and, you know, how they work together, and maybe give you some insight in who you might really be inside, as far as a dominant, a submissive, a switch. But just keep in mind, people that are in BDSM are not that much different from people who are not in it. Most of the people you see walking down the street, you would never know if they were in BDSM. People live their vanilla lives, and then when they go home, they're a slave, they're a submissive, they're a dominant, they're, you know, a baby girl, a brat. They're all these different things. So it's not as taboo as you think. I want you guys to go out here and explore, you know, explore who you are. FetLife is a great resource for learning about the lifestyle. They have a whole glossary on there that could tell you all the different terms and what they mean. I could go on and on about the different terms and roles. There's so many of them, but I don't have that much time. But just be accepting of people, and don't judge people. Don't judge people for who they are, for what they're into. You know, accept people, because everybody wants to be accepted, whether you're in the lifestyle or you're vanilla. So, from this switchy alpha submissive to you, happy exploring, and let me know, what do you identify as? Hey yo, thanks for watching. My contact information is below. Please go like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Your support is always appreciated. But if you want to show that support with them dollars though, throw your girl a cash app, you feel me? Until we meet again, smooches.